Welcome to Excel Campus. My name is John, and the following video is from the Filters 101 course. This is an online course that will help you prepare and analyze your data faster to get the most out of the filter features in Excel. Please visit excelcampus.com/filters to learn more about the course. Now let's check out the video. In this video, I'm going to explain two different ways to filter for a list of items. So here I have a table with a list of transactions, and I have this country column here that contains a lot of different countries. So I want to filter this column down for just a few countries. So we're first going to look at a technique using the add current selection to filter method to filter down for this list of items. And then we're going to look at a formula-based approach to filter down for a longer list of items in this table here using formulas. So let's jump back over to our table here. So the first thing I want to do is filter this list here for just these three countries. So I'm going to select or click the filter drop down menu here and go to the search box, and I'll start with the first item, which is Costa Rica. So I'm going to start typing that. And I'll see the list is filtered for that, and I'll click OK. So that's just filtered for Costa Rica. So now I want to add to this filter, and I want to add Poland. So I'm going to again click the filter drop-down menu here, go to the search box, and I'm going to start typing Poland. So I'll start typing Poland. That will again filter down this list, and we have this option here that says add current selection to filter. We can click that, and we click that and then click OK. That's going to then add that filter criteria to the existing filter criteria. So we can see now that the list is filtered down for both Costa Rica and Poland right here. And so we can do the same thing for Venezuela as well. So we'll click the filter drop down. We can use the keyboard shortcut, which is the letter E, to jump down to our search box here. We can start typing Venezuela, and we'll see we get the same thing here. Add current selection to filter. We'll check that box and click OK or hit enter. And now our list has been filtered for all three of those items. Now we can't really see that filter criteria within the filter drop-down menu here anywhere. We'd have to scroll to see all the boxes that have been checked. But what we can do, if we hit cancel here, is when we hover over the filter drop-down menu icon, we'll see that screen tip appears, and it shows there the filter criteria. So Costa Rica, Poland, and Venezuela is the filter criteria that this column has been filtered for. So this technique using the add current selection to filter option is great if we have a small list of items, a short list of items that we want to filter for. But if we have a long list of items, like this table here with 10 items, that could take a long time to type all those searches and click the box and all of that routine, doing that over and over again. So for this type of process, we can use a formula-based approach. So I'm going to jump back over to my sheet that contains my table. I'm going to go ahead and just clear this filter for now. And in this cell right here to the right of the table, we're going to add a COUNTIF formula. So I'm going to type equals and then COUNTIF. We can tab into the function here. COUNTIF contains two criteria. First is the range that we want to evaluate, and then the criteria. So two different arguments here. So we'll first select the range, and that will be our filter list. So we're going to go over to this table here, this sheet that contains the filter list. And this is an Excel table. You do not have to use Excel tables for this, but it does have some advantages here, which I'll explain in just a second. So we're first just going to hover our mouse over the top of the header here and left click, and that will select the data body range here of the column that we want to evaluate. That's our range for our COUNTIF formula. And then we'll type a comma, and then we'll go back over to our other sheet, and we're going to just select the cell here that contains the country. Now I can see my formula here is using the Excel table notation, which are called structured references. Again, you do not need to use tables. You could just use regular range references here, and this would work just fine. However, there are some advantages. So I'm going to go ahead and close the parentheses, and then I'll hit enter. Since I'm using an Excel table, the formula is automatically copied down for me. So we now get this column with ones and zeros. And any row that contains a 1 means that that value is in my filter list. So the COUNTIF formula is going to just count the number of times that this value appears in the filter list table, which is right here. So of course, Costa Rica is right here in the filter list table. So if we jump back over to our data table here, we'll see Costa Rica right here. So this is returning a 1 because it's found the value Costa Rica in that table one time. So now what we can do is just filter this column for 1s. So I'll just filter here for 1s only and click OK. And now we've filtered down our table for all of the items in our filter list. So if we jump back over to our filter list, again, here is our filter list. And because we're filtering for all of the 1s, all of the times that this value has been found in the table, we've applied a filter for all of those values. Now, instead of 1s and 0s, we might want to display true and false here. That might make more sense if we're using this as a source data of a pivot table or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and clear our filter again. And here within our formula, where we have this COUNTIF formula, we can just set this equal to 1. So at the very end of it, I'm going to type the equal sign and then put a 1. And that's going to evaluate whether the return value from the COUNTIF function equals 1. And if it does, it'll return a true. If not, it'll return a false. And so now we can just filter for trues and falses instead of 1s and 0s. And that just might make a little more sense, again, if we're using this as in a pivot table. We can also rename this column to something that's more descriptive, like filter countries or something like that, to help us describe what we're doing with this column. Now, as I mentioned before, there is some advantages to using an Excel table for this filter list here. And the main advantage is that we can easily add items to the bottom of this list and not have to worry about updating our formula. So for example, here, if I wanted to add maybe a few more countries to the bottom of my list here, I'll add Brazil and Portugal to the bottom. Of course, our table is automatically extended here as we add items to it. And now if we go back over to our data table, all we need to do now is reapply the filters. And that's because this formula is referencing that entire column. This is the entire column in our filter list table. So we don't need to change any references to any cell addresses here to extend the table. That's automatically done for us. So all we really need to do now is just reapply the filter. We can do that on the data tab of the ribbon by just clicking the reapply button right here. That will reapply our filter for all the trues or all the 1s. And we can see now that we have these new items that are in our filter list applied here in our data table. So again, you don't have to use Excel tables for this, but it will make your life a little easier and reduce the amount of maintenance that you have to do on these formulas in the future as you add and delete items from the filter list. And one other thing I wanted to point out real quickly is that we can also use this technique to filter for items that are not in this list. So of course, we're currently filtering for items that are in our filter list here. But if we go back to our data table and just change this filter to either false, or if you're using 1s and 0s, change this to 0. And click OK, we're now filtering for all the items that are not in our filter list table here. So everything that's not in that table is displayed here, and this might be useful for a filter criteria as well. So in the next video, we'll take a look at how to filter for duplicates with conditional formatting. So that was a sample video from the Filters 101 course. This is an online course that contains over 40 video lessons just like that one. This will help you prepare and analyze your data faster to help you get the most out of Excel's sort and filter features. If you'd like to learn more about the course, please visit excelcampus.com/filters. If you have any questions about this video, please leave a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.